Yes.
Perfect.
I think they like my Colorado swag, cause when I'm in that play, I don't really know just how to act. And when I'm in that go, you know I'm acting bad. Holla, get a bus with my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag. Man, I swear, I think they like my Colorado swag, my Colorado swag is pushing 180. Speeding past competition, see you later, baby. Colorado Army with soldiers like the Navy. And boat is where we station, patiently awaiting. When I hit the field, it's so hard to behave. I'm Colorado swagging as the crowd do the wave. Look into my eyes, I can tell that you a fan, cause you know we finna hit you.
Your mics are gonna be hot in 3.
You on your own now, why you watching the official? You just better hope you make it to the next whistle. And when you playing with you can get
Welcome into DNVR Buffs Postgame. I'm Henry Chisholm, and I'm joined here by Ryan Konigsberg. And we're about to run through everything that just happened in the Buffs' 35-32 win over Stanford, getting them to 2-0. And if Arizona holds on, that's going to be good enough to get them into sole possession of first place in the Pac-12 South. Let's start out with our biggest takeaways from the game. Ryan, what's the biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is that I'm drinking Winsky for the second week in a row.
So dumb. That is so dumb.
That's good stuff. Sam Noyer is the truth. That wasn't a 1 week UCLA is bad type of performance. This kid is in control at all times. He's really accurate. He throws absolute BBs. Like, I didn't know he had an arm like that. And he looks like what you get when you start a senior quarterback. Now, what's crazy is, like, everyone thought it was some second-rate senior quarterback. But there's something about having a man out there surrounded by a bunch of boys, and that's what Sam Noyer looks like right now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see what he looks like this season. So cool, so happy for him to be able to put this on display. But he really does look like a very good college quarterback. And that's something that I don't think a lot of Buffs fans expected out of him. And honestly, that just makes it feel even better. But like Ryan was saying, the ability to just rifle the ball into any window is something that, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, we haven't really seen at CU in a while. Like, even when Steven was on, just the ability for Sam to just put that little bit of extra juice on the ball, it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, you know, Steven Montez had a big arm, and it worked a lot. But Sam Noyer has, if Steven Montez had like a rocket launcher, Sam Noyer has like a sniper.
He does.
And a sniper still can get a lot of velocity behind it.
Yeah.
He's been really accurate. Really the only thing that I've ever worried about is drops. Like, he's putting the ball in the right place almost all the time. The interception, I get it. Because it was a perfectly drawn up play that worked every time in practice, I'm sure, this week. And he wanted that touchdown really bad. He threw it. They missed a stunt. And what can you do? Other than that, though, 4 total touchdowns. He does look like Cepho Lufa out there. Noyer the Destroyer. Like
Chef Noyer RD.
Chef Noyer RD. I don't care what you want to call him.
RD.
Chef Noyer RD, like, that's when he's cooking from the pocket.
Okay.
But Noyer the Destroyer is when he gets out on the move.
Wow. Maybe he does deserve 2 nicknames. For all the different things that he's able to do for this offense, I think he does deserve 2 nicknames.
We even got to see safety Sam Noyer on a play that didn't actually count.
That was incredible. After the fumble that was called back, Jarek Broussard, progress was stopped. I mean,
that was Mangum.
Oh, was it Mangum? Yeah. Oh, but yeah, Sam just turning around and so easily, just like knocking the guy to the ground. Like, he blew him up, and it didn't even look like it phased him at all. That was so much fun.
Let Chef Noyer RD cook.
Yeah.
Michael Harrison said, Ryan, your shirt is dope.
It is a dope shirt.
Speaking of dope shirts.
Wow, yeah. Speaking of dope shirts.
We just dropped a dope shirt, which you should go to dnvrlocker.com and cop this. That is the design right there. Pride and tradition. The pride and tradition of the Colorado Buffaloes will not be entrusted to the Timid of the Week. And that is my favorite thing about this team so far, Henry. They're not timid. They're not weak. Sam Noyer is like a gritty quarterback, and that gets me hype. So that design is awesome. What's your biggest takeaway?
Wait,
My
wait,
biggest
wait,
takeaway?
wait. I have a quick question while I'm making the graphic. I have a mic so they can
You do
hear
have a
me.
mic? Okay.
Yes. Who is going to be the king of the game? Is it Sam Noyer?
Chef Noyer RD is the king of the game.
He has
4
to be.
touchdowns. 4 total
I
touchdowns.
know. I mean, I said that earlier, but you guys were like, wait it out. So I just wanted to make sure before we get to that.
You were right.
It's
You were
confirmed.
an hour ahead of us, Allie. Okay. My biggest takeaway, though, I mean, honestly, it probably is Sam. You know, as much as I wanted to believe last week, it was UCLA, and it was the first game, and they hadn't had a chance to scout him, and so you could see how maybe it could have been a little bit fluky. But since you took that, I'm going to go with this defense, this front seven specifically, and the defensive line even more specifically than that. They were creating chaos in the way that they've been saying that they wanted to create chaos all through camp. And to finally see that come through was just so comforting more than anything, because you knew that for this football team to be anything more than, you know, what they've been in the past, which is a team that can't quite take that extra step to get to a bowl game, they needed to have that dominant unit, and I think that they found it. It is the defensive line like we'd hoped, and maybe, I'm not sure if we could say expected to see what we saw tonight, but
They were a little scared of Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
they were.
That caused them to not be as dominant as they could be. Today, it was pin your ears back and go, because Davis Mills sucks.
That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like. And sure, he probably didn't practice all that much this week because he was held out last week because of COVID. But yeah, I think that you hit the nail right on the head there. Like, they were scared of DTR, and that's something we talked to Chris Wilson, the defensive line coach this week. Talked to Jalen Sami, who did a great job against the best center in the Pac-12 today, right in the middle of that line of scrimmage. But in talking to all these representatives of that defensive line, what they said was, we're trying to build a pocket around DTR and then collapse that pocket. Whereas throughout camp, the real focus had been penetrating, getting into the backfield. And today, when they were really able to let loose, I mean, it was a surprise when there wasn't somebody in the backfield.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, like you said, I think you said the word comforting. That's what that was. Because in the Pac-12, if you can't get into the backfield, you're going to have a bad time. And last week they didn't. Like, they just weren't there. And that was concerning. And to see them this week against, again, a quarterback that you didn't have to worry about on the edge at all, it was really comforting to see them get back there and wreak a little bit of havoc. Like, when you go up against USC, which we talked about, maybe we can talk about this a little bit later, that could happen as soon as this week.
It could. It really could.
And it kind of makes sense to me to, like, announce that as soon as possible so these teams can prepare for each other. But, like, you're going to need to create pressure. And when you do create pressure, you're going to be able to have a chance against that team. When you go up against ASU, that's when you're probably going to have to use more of a UCLA-type game plan. So I just love that they were able to get in the backfield a little bit. Our guy, Will Whalen, sang Flabongo. If we had anything that I could chug a beer out of right now, I would do it.
Dude, Flabongo sounds so nice.
Like, should I just chug my beer out of my glass?
If you want to do that, I'll talk more about the defensive line.
Go ahead.
Seriously, the penetration from all of those guys. I mean, Carson Wells in particular, technically not a defensive lineman. He's an outside linebacker. But we saw what we expected to see last year from him. And the difference was that there was just real production. You know, Allie's got the Buffs Vuvuzela.
I should have chugged my beer out of that.
Yeah, you should have. You should have. Speaking of which, Taylor Korniak scored her first goal as a professional today, which is pretty cool over in the Bundesliga.
Congratulations to her.
Yes.
I feel like I have to talk like powerfully when I'm holding this.
Go ahead. Talk however you want. But Carson Wells looks so good. You know, he had a tough year last year after really bursting onto the scene the year prior. But to see him do what he did today with a couple of pass breakups, getting into the backfield, like, he was just all over the place making plays.
Okay. The last big takeaway that I have that just has to be addressed
Okay.
is, for lack of a better term, buff shit, which is what allowed Stanford to get back into this football game. I love when it happens and we still win. So, like, I'll just allow it and just pretend like it didn't happen and shake it off. Wins are wins. Conference wins are conference wins. Like, you know, if you beat CSU like this, you're worried because you're like, yeah, you can't do this in the Pac-12. Well, they've done it in the Pac-12 2 weeks in a row and they're 2-0. But with that being said, I always talk about how players and coaches are allowed to learn. And Karl Dorrel is learning right now. And I think he's going to learn. Got to be a little more aggressive. It was 3 straight drives of 3 straight handoffs, and it was 3 straight 3-and-outs. And that's the only reason why this wasn't a blowout. And it's a little bit frustrating, and I'm sure there are fans out there whining and moaning about it right now.
I've seen them. Yep.
Not me.
No.
Wins are wins.
Yep.
But I want it to be a learning experience. 2 weeks in a row now, you've proven you can run the ball at all other times, except for when they know you're running it no matter what.
And, it's worth mentioning that they didn't have Brady Russell out there. And
Sure.
they didn't have their starting center, Colby Purcell, out there either. And that was something that they had to mess with throughout the game. They struggled early on. They moved Chance Lytle into the guard spot and moved Kari Cooch into the center spot. It's don't laugh. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. But you did see a couple of problems right there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we look back at this game and what happened late and say, you know what? Losing one of your better offensive linemen does cause some problems, especially when you lose your starting tight end as well. Here's what I'll say, though. There are a lot of coaches who you can look at and say, you made a mistake late in the game, and that's what let the other team in. That's a conversation it seems like we have weekly with Vic Fangio and the Broncos. It's like, why didn't you use a timeout this way? Why did you call a pass play there? Karl Dorrel, sure, he's let these games get a little bit closer than he probably had to, but at the same time, the Buffs were always in control. Like, they still haven't had an opponent take the ball in a one-score game in the second half this season. And it's never gotten to the point where there was a real threat. Like, either time it's been they can get an onside kick and get back into it. And I think it is worth remembering, I think that running the ball 3 times isn't the worst strategy.
It worked. And that's what people have such a hard time with, is like, yeah, they won, but not the way I wanted them to win. But a coach is saying, it worked.
Yep.
We took time off the clock on 3 straight drives, and what we did was we left them down 3 with 10 seconds on the clock, having to go 92 yards or 50 yards to have a legitimate chance at a field goal. So it worked, and that's what people have to realize. I just hope that Karl Dorrel knows that against teams that can score faster, against better teams, against all of those things, it's not going to work. And I actually like that he kind of got a test run of this against 2 inferior teams. Because honestly, the Buffs probably should have, like, on that 3rd and 1 late, it was a perfect opportunity, in my opinion, to call something creative. And when I say creative, I just mean like
A bootleg.
A bootleg. Exactly. Because the worst case scenario is there's an edge player there who stays home, and Sam Noyer just cradles. And you just fall to the ground, and the exact same thing happens. You punt the ball. But I watched. There was no one on the backside. So if he hands that off and takes the backside run, he gets an easy first down, game over. So again, I know that Karl Dorrel and Darren Chiaverini will see that on film and say, like, next time we can call this. And that's all I want from them. Learning in wins is the best thing ever. And it's what they've done 2 times in a row now. They learned from stuff last week that helped them win this week. They learned from stuff this week that hopefully helps them win next week. Karl Dorrel is still getting his feet back under him as a head coach. He's not. This isn't his first time, but it might as well be. It has been so long since he's been a head coach that he's kind of relearning his feel for the game from the head coach position, and I'm just so proud of this team, dude.
Seriously.
2-0, there's nothing more I could ask for. Nothing.
People did not expect that.
Mel Tucker's 1-3.
Yes, Allie?
I just want to pull up a stats graphic so you guys can talk about a little more numbers.
All right.
Look at the rushing yards.
Wow. That is so nice.
Stanford, the old school punch you in the mouth. Stanford goes for 70 yards. That's why you won this game. You made them one-dimensional.
You went at their strength and you beat them, because their strength is in the trenches on both sides of the ball. And the Buffs, what I really liked this week was Karl Dorrel talking about getting a winning average out of his offensive and defensive lines. Saying this isn't just a quick, you won on this play, so feel good about it, or you lost on this play, and that decides it. No, it's about the percentages at the end of the game. And on both sides of the ball, even though there were some backs and forths, at the end of the day, they did what they needed to do and beat up Stanford in the trenches. Just kind of round out this end of the game talk, what I do want to say is that when you're sitting there with 5 or 6 minutes or however much time is left and whatever the situation was, what Karl Dorrel knew was if we just run the ball 3 times and we get 3 possessions and we make them take their time getting up the field, that's a winning formula.
Yep.
And he just stuck to the formula all the way through. And he was right that it does work when you have whatever the time was, whatever the timeout situation was. Sure, everything kind of broke as poorly as it could have for the Buffs.
Except
I guess
for the onside kick.
Except for the onside kick again.
Vontae Chenault, by the way, and we'll get to helmet stickers here in a second.
We sure will. That was a nice game, though.
He just, he short-stopped it. Soft hands. Didn't bounce off his hands at all. He just kind of trapped it there.
That was a good kick.
It was a really good onside kick.
It was.
It hit them in a dangerous position, and he knocked it down perfectly.
He sure did. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my takeaways. I guess we should talk about Breckenridge Brewery real quick. I'm drinking the Breck Lager right now. It's a little bit too far away, so I can't take a drink at the moment. But it is very good. No, I can't talk it. Will you talk about Breckenridge?
I'll talk about Breckenridge Brewery. I, of course, when you saw me down my beer, down an RK Special, half Strawberry Sky, half Hop Peak, elite combination of beers. And as we learned on a tailgate episode a couple weeks ago, there's no such thing as a bad combination of Breck brews. Whether you're just having a single Breck brew or any combination of 2 other Breck brews, elite across the board.
More than 2, though. You know, when Eric made the brew aside,
that was fine.
I mean that's a stretch.
It was fine. It didn't smell very good, but it tasted good. I mean, if you mix 8 beers together, you expect it to not taste good. It tasted okay.
I guess under the bar being set at 8 beers mixed together, it was a pretty good beer. But pretty much everything else was really good. Just like everything that you buy and drink on its own from Breckenridge Brewery, which you can do at all sorts of different places, most gas stations, grocery stores, wherever. But if you have one in mind that you want to try, get on the beer locator on the Breckenridge Brewery website. It'll tell you exactly where to go.
I just had the Juice Drop IPA for the first time yesterday. It's a new IPA from Breck Brew. A little hazy IPA, got some color to it. Really good. Citrusy, got that hoppiness that you look for, but also smooth. What I always look for in Breck Brews is the smoothness, and they're always smooth.
They are always very smooth. I do want to say we're going to be closing this show out by taking questions. So if you guys have any questions, whether you're watching on Periscope or YouTube, wherever, leave those questions in the chat, and we'll go back through all of them at the end. Also want to say, if you are watching on YouTube, which we would love for you to do, like this video, subscribe, click on the little bell so you get the notification whenever we go live, and we would really appreciate that. All right. This Sunday will truly be like no other. With this weekend's major golf tournament, along with both professional and collegiate football, there will be no shortage of action at DraftKings Sportsbook. So jump on DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app.
Let me tell you.
Yeah?
Last 2 weeks, when I jumped on DraftKings Sportsbook,
things go well?
Especially with the Buffs. Because it was, plus 175 last week, plus 275 this week. Add those together. I put 2 units on it both times. So I'm up 6 units thanks to the Buffs.
I don't know why those lines were set the way they were set.
We wanted to make the headline of this, Buffs, Sam Noyer leads Buffs to another big upset. As a 9-point underdog, when you win, that is a big upset. At 0 times during this game did it ever feel like the Buffs were an underdog.
Seriously. Never.
So I don't even feel good calling it an upset. That wasn't an upset to me.
Yeah, and when I was calling it a toss-up all week, I think I was wrong. The Buffs did just look like the better football team, which was pretty cool. But yeah, there's going to actually be Pac-12 football tomorrow because of the reschedule.
Oh, that's what's up. Okay.
Because Cal can play because Arizona State got sick. So Cal's going to take on Utah's opponent, which was
UCLA?
Yes, it is UCLA. So I think it's 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. So there's some Pac-12 action too. We've been having a lot of fun. I've been doing real well on my Pac-12 picks. I think USC is going to be my first miss. But hopefully you guys jump in and play too, especially because if you're a new user, tomorrow you can get covered up to $100 by DraftKings Sportsbook. So make sure you download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR when you sign up, and you'll get this can't-miss offer. DraftKings Sportsbook is insuring your Sunday bets up to $100. That's right, you bet, and they cover up to $100 when when you use promo code DNVR during sign-up. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, risk-free coverage paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. All right, time now for our draft king of the game. And as we mentioned earlier, Chef Noyer
Crown
right
looks
there.
good on him.
Crown does look good on him. I have a feeling we might be seeing a crown on Chef Noyer here.
And the graphic isn't really doing justice to him because he actually had 4 touchdowns. Of course, just 2 passing touchdowns, but 2 running touchdowns as well. So 15 and 24, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
My apologies.
That's a good quarterback
Just trying to
game.
get the graphic
you add
done.
in that Noyer the Destroyer had 2 touchdowns on the ground as well.
Yeah.
Including one where he trucked a dude in midair. And we also should have added in there 1 karate kick.
That was incredible. I am all here for Sam Noyer trying to jump over people.
He just wants to jump over everyone.
It isn't very often that it works perfectly, but more often than not, something good comes of it. Whether he's kneeing somebody in the face mask, whether he's reaching over somebody for a touchdown, Sam Noyer jumping has never been a bad thing.
Yeah. First he jumped over Tyler Lytle on the depth chart. Now he's jumping over everyone on the field.
Good one.
Thank you. There you go. Look at Matt Beckel here. Buffs have as many wins as Michigan State and Nebraska combined with 1/4 of the games played.
Isn't that nice?
And Nebraska, they beat Penn State today in what was called the bottom 25 game of the week.
Wow. Oh, those poor people.
Yep.
Can't imagine what it would feel like to not be a Buffs fan.
Speaking of teams like Nebraska and Michigan State that are underachievers annually, remember when Justin said that he thought CSU might beat CU this year before they played a game?
Oh, my goodness. What would have happened to CSU against Stanford?
What would happen to CSU against CU?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it would be brutal.
Yeah, it would.
I mean, somehow it would have ended up being a 3-point game at the end.
No.
No.
No, that's against Pac-12 teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Before we get into the rest of the helmet stickers, I have one question for you, Ryan. If you had to choose one player to be draft king of the game, but we separated Chef Noyer from Noyer the Destroyer, who would get the draft king of the game?
Chef Noyer would be the draft king of the game still because he just made big plays in big moments. The Noyer the Destroyer stuff was fantastic because he scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. Eric, no, you aren't.
No. No.
Look at that thing.
That looks so nice.
So good. Someone actually, credit to Eric, someone who will remain nameless said, man, I can't believe Eric put so much good work into a CU shirt. And I was like, Eric is an incredible artist. It doesn't matter what it is. He's not going to half-ass anything.
I know. I think after making this, he's going to realize how great the colors are. And he's never going to go back. It's all just going to be CU shirts from here on out. It got to be so much more fun to design. All right. Helmet stickers, though.
Yeah.
This is the part of the show where we give out helmet stickers for players who did well.
I think that was pretty self-explanatory.
Some people might be new here. But who's your first helmet sticker going to, Ryan?
First of all, I want to ask you this. Should the Buffs have helmet stickers?
No.
Okay.
If you asked me, should the Buffs have started putting helmet stickers on 60 years ago, then we could have a conversation. At this point, no, you're not a helmet sticker program. You go with the traditions. You are what you are.
Okay. I think I want to say they should, but I actually think the helmet is so perfect that it doesn't need anything added to it.
Agreed.
There's actually too much going on the back of it right now.
I heard you talk about that. There's
a Pac-12 sticker. There's a Colorado flag and an American flag crossing against each other, I think. There's someone's signature. I don't even know who that is. I'm sure it's meaningful.
It is very meaningful.
There is a safety sticker or something. Just too many things. Strip it all off. I'm cool with the signature. I don't know who it is. Does anyone know what the signature is? I'd love to know. You know what it is?
I do. One of the Buffs equipment manager's wife died this year. And that's her signature.
So, again, keep that. That's fine.
That, yes.
Everything else, I'm fine with it just going.
The safety sticker in particular is the one that I just don't understand. Like you think you've gotten to the point where you're now in college football. You'd realize, yes, this helmet doesn't protect against everything.
Right. Let's put it on the inside.
put it right here where they can actually read it. It's not like they're looking at the back of their head on the football field. There's not even a mirror anywhere out there.
Okay, anyways.
That doesn't
My
matter.
first
Yeah.
helmet sticker, I mentioned him a second ago, is going to Vontae Chenault.
Wow. First one.
Yeah, I mean, we already, Chef Noyer already got king of the game. It's like when someone gets MVP, they don't also need offensive player of the year or whatever it is. Like,
That's true.
Vontae Chenault made multiple big plays, including the game-winning play, which was recovering the onside kick. He did right by the Chenault name, and in his first ever game, one more.
Yeah.
He had a jump ball on a free play that if he brings that in, it's like a perfect game for him. But in his first game ever, he did right by the Chenault name, made some of the biggest plays of the game, and man, I'm really excited to see him ball. Henry, we saw guys like Jalen Jackson making plays today, and Brendan Rice scored a touchdown, and we could go through the whole list of these guys. They still haven't had Katie Nixon, who would have been considered before the season started their most dangerous offensive weapon.
It's pretty incredible. It is so incredible, honestly. And again, this is just one more time where you have to say, like, shout out to Darren Cheverini for putting all of that together.
Yep.
Because that is not easy to do. To build the receivers room that he had 2-3 years ago and keep it going and going and going to the point where you still have this much talent and so many guys who you can't even fit them on the field. It's pretty cool, and it's so exciting just to even see the flashes of Brendan Rice out there and the flashes of Jalen Jackson, Maurice Bell carving out a real role. It's with Sam Noyer at quarterback, the ability to take advantage of all those guys, this is going to be one of the more productive receivers groups in all of the Pac-12, and that's only going to be even more true once you get KD Nixon back. My first helmet sticker, I'm going to stick on the offensive side of the ball, Dimitri Stanley. I think that we saw him last week produce in the first half, kind of show the rapport that he seems to have with Sam Noyer, but he has looked very good throughout both of these games. He's able to get open, he's catching balls, he's able to run after the catch. He had the big run that I think we're about to see.
Yeah, we have his touchdown right here.
Well, let's watch.
Yeah, but that is a very good slot receiver. And you remember Sam Noyer's interception? That was a deep ball to Dimitri Stanley, who was running a streak from the slot. He has that kind of speed to stretch the field vertically, but then he also catches a ball on the sideline, wears the hit, and holds onto the ball. Those are the two things that you need out of a slot receiver, that and the ability to find gas in the zone.
See the fake from Chef Noyer.
The big fake. It was almost like the first fake wasn't big enough, and he faked again.
But that's why Dimitri Stanley scores that touchdown, though, because the safety starts heading the other way.
And by safety, you don't mean Sam Noyer.
No, I don't. Look at that.
The actual safety.
See ya.
Yeah.
Where are you? Oh, you're frozen because he threw that pump fake, and now it's a touchdown. Dimitri Stanley has been awesome 2 games in a row now.
Yeah.
And he's a true sophomore, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
I think so.
He might be a redshirt sophomore.
Doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
He has
I
3 more
agree with you
years
there.
regardless.
Yeah, if he wants them. But
Yeah.
it is just so cool to see. We'll go through the stats. 6 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown.
Woo.
Oh, that's nice.
What did he have last week?
I believe he also had 6 catches last week, mostly in the first half. Yeah, but for 66 yards, no touchdowns.
So 12 catches, almost 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns? No touchdowns. One touchdown.
Nice start.
Touchdown.
Yeah, remember that?
Yes. No, I meant no touchdowns last week.
Defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, obviously the first one that I'm going to give out on the defensive side of the ball has to go to Terrence Lang. I believe he had 4 tackles for loss, maybe just 3, but either way, really impactful plays. He had a 4th down stop and just was constantly living in the backfield, creating havoc. If he plays like that, and Mustafa Johnson plays like we know Mustafa Johnson can, and Carson Wells plays well on the edge, like
Jalen Sami.
Yes.
Oh.
This today illuminated what this defensive line can be, and it's exciting. It's really exciting.
And you see guys like Janaz Jordan getting in there too, making plays.
He's a big boy too.
That is just such a healthy room of football players. You have guys like Terrence Lang, who 2 years ago, he was a situational pass rusher. Last year, he doubles his production, goes from like 2 sacks to 4 sacks, goes from 2 tackles for loss to 4 tackles for loss as he becomes a starter. And then this year, he proves that 6'7" frame is capable of all the things that we knew that it was capable of by almost matching his season tackles for loss numbers in one game. I mean, this group it's very good and very talented, but it's also so deep. And Stanford's offensive line is one of the best lines in the conference. I mentioned Drew Dahlman, the center. I think he is the best center in the Pac-12. You have the right tackle, Foster Sorrell. This isn't an easy group to do that to. As we welcome the third member of our little thing we got going here into the picture. Is it a show?
Yeah, you can call it a show.
It's a show. This is Ben Girding. Well, I mean, they can see his leg.
Yeah. Those are his hands.
That's his
and
crotch.
his slacks.
Yep. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
Wow.
Fresh
Look at that.
faced and ready to talk.
Ben just listened in to the whole post-game media conference, and we're going to touch on some of the notes from that after we finish up the helmet stickers.
Yes.
But yeah, Terrence Lang looked incredible. Ben, why don't you give us a helmet sticker? We'll tell you if we already did it.
Yeah. Wow, perfect. Rambling right up the top of my head.
Don't say it out loud. Okay, so I'll tell you how many we've given out so far. We've already given out our King of the Game.
Okay.
And 3 helmet stickers. So try and go deep into your bag here.
Okay. Well, I think King of the Game has to be Sam Noyer.
Yes.
Okay. I heard the last bit of that bit, so helmet sticker to Terrence Lang.
Yes. Oh, so we're only... No, we are 3 deep.
Yep.
Another one to Dimitri Stanley.
Yes.
Yep.
And let's say the last one, Carson Wells.
No, so there's yours.
Okay, yeah, Carson Wells in. Perfect, yeah. Carson Wells, he actually got to talk to us on the post-game presser, too, and he just has a nice energy and presence about him. But also...
Let me just say, you have a really nice energy and presence about you
does,
right
doesn't
now.
he?
Well, shucks, guys. Yeah, he was just asked a lot about, what was it like on third down, and just very quick answers, very quick hitters is just, that's the game plan. That's our money down. We got to stop him there. Another one, too, on the late game problems. He was asked directly, how are you feeling about the team another week in a row here having some struggles down the line, and he said point blank, my heart can't take it anymore. so I think
you and us both,
yes,
Carson.
so I think Carson
same.
understands where Buffs fans are at, and hopefully that means next week we won't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
You know what I just love though is there was a time in the world of Colorado football where they would have lost both of these games, and we would be here pulling our hair out, pounding on the table, just inconsolable over these 2 losses.
Yep.
And I think it says a lot about just the trajectory of the program that they're past that point. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to blow one at some point this year, and their opponents are going to get more difficult as we go. But I think just the fact that 2 weeks in a row now, it's been, for lack of a better term, a cheek clencher, and they've come out with it and won, makes me feel really good about that this program as a whole has taken a step forward, because there was a time where these would have been losses.
Yeah, but again, I feel like they are very much in control at the end of games.
Yep.
It might be a little bit shady, but it works out in the end. I'll give another helmet sticker. You took Carson Wells, which was a good one.
Can I ask real quick, who was the one I missed?
Vontae Chenault.
Okay, yeah, good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw Nate Landman in there.
Right.
Again, what a steadying force. The ability to just knock a guy backwards is...
He makes his presence felt every game.
Absolutely.
He does. And sure, there was like a big whiff on a tackle. There were situations where he could have said, like, could he have been in a little bit tighter coverage? Sure. But also there were a lot of times where he was the reason that this Stanford running game wasn't able to get going. The way he blitzes, the way he's able to play the run game without blitzing, like, this is just a really, really good linebacker, and he's needed.
There's a thing in football that, in 2020, not everyone wants to acknowledge, and it kind of gets, it's just like spoken quietly. But when there is a player on the field who, for lack of a better way of putting it, is out there trying to hurt people, it changes the dynamic of your defense. Look at Kareem Jackson for the Broncos. Like, he is a missile at all times, and he just doesn't really care what happens to the person on the other end of it. And does Nate Landman sometimes get himself taken out of games because of this? Yes. But you have to have a little bit of crazy on your defense. Like, look at the Broncos in 2015 when they had one of the best defenses in a long time. And they had a lot of crazy on that defense.
Yeah.
You need defense, and crazy goes hand in hand. And Nate Landman has a little bit of crazy in him. And sometimes it's going to make you, put your head in your hands. But on a weekly basis, he makes sure the offense knows where he is and knows that he's there. And that's deserving of a helmet sticker in itself.
Yeah, and not only does he not really have much regard for who he's tackling, who he's going after, he doesn't really have much regard for his own body.
No.
I mean, he goes in there to stick people.
Yep.
And again, if you have a defense of 11 guys like that, you're going to get flagged a ton. But if you just have maybe one or two of those big hitters, those big playmakers, it's really going to translate that energy to the rest of your team.
Yeah, and Quinn Perry, the linebacker, got in there sometime in the second half, and we talked to him a few weeks ago during fall camp. And so when I saw him on the field, I was like, okay, better search through my notes. What did they say about him? And so I went through, and I found this. When somebody asked, what have you learned from Nate Landman? And what he said was that it's all about the physicality. And the quote that I wrote down was, unleash hell on everybody. And that's exactly what it is. And that's what you need those linebackers to do, and they are doing it. This front seven, it's one of the best front sevens in the Pac-12. And sure, we don't know what exactly Stanford is this year. Are they closer to like David Shaw's 72% win percentage over his career? Are they closer to the 4-8 team they were last year? Who knows? But they are always good in the trenches. And even last week against Oregon, I just about gave that helmet sticker to Jalen Sami. I've been hyping it up all week. When Stanford ran through the A gaps right next to that great center, they had 10.7 yards per carry last week
insane.
On 14 carries against Oregon.
You said something when we were sitting downstairs, and you said if you watched the last two Stanford games blindly, you would think that Colorado was the tougher opponent.
Yeah. And that was before the late Stanford run.
matter.
But yeah, seriously,
But
when
even
it
still,
mattered, that's what it looked like. And that was pretty cool to see today.
You got Stanford 70 yards on the day, averaging 3.3 yards per carry. I mean, comparing that to what they did last week, just like you said against Oregon. I mean, it's a non-compete. This Colorado front seven it's legit. It's legit.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
We have a lot of people in the comments talking about how they would give their helmet sticker to the entire offensive line as well. That's really Buffs Nation is behind that one.
I love this offensive line. Honestly, I thought they could have been a little better today.
I think when they get their starter back.
We saw that Jarek Broussard just prints 100-yard games. Like, that wasn't even an exciting 100-yard game for him. It was just like a workman-like, what was it, 120?
121, yep.
27 carries.
Okay, they got to chill on that.
I know, but he can withstand it. When you look at
I
the
know.
guys 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, but he has like 60 carries in 2 games.
What's
He's
a short
also
season, so
incredible.
It is a short season. I like that. That's a good point. I want to give one, though. One last one for me. Jerry Rice's son
That was going to be my
scored a
shout out.
touchdown for the Colorado Buffaloes today.
That was going to be my shout out, but I've got the highlight here.
I didn't know you were
everyone.
giving shout outs, or else I would have given you a
Well,
chance.
you know,
You
I
wanna
was
give
trying
any
to
other
get your
shout-outs?
attention. I'm
Let's play
behind
it.
the scenes. Okay.
Let's watch Jerry Rice's son score a touchdown for the Colorado Buffaloes. I can't say that enough.
It's so nice.
Honestly,
Bottom of the screen
terrible
there.
from Stanford.
Well, that's fair. But look
Ooh,
at that.
He was
Number
wide
2 walking into the end zone.
open.
And
feels
just
like old times.
seeing that, it just feels like everything that we wanted to see this season is happening. Save for maybe like a little more from Rashad Clayton, who finally did get on the field today. Had like the 4 yards on one run. It was good to see him out there. Want to see Antonio Alfano at some point. But outside of that, seeing Vontae make plays, seeing Brendan Rice score a touchdown, seeing Sam Noyer do what he's doing, this defense living up to pretty much all of the hype that we've been heaping on top of them that almost nobody else outside of Boulder has. It just feels pretty nice.
What's crazy is, Sam Noyer didn't have to do anything on this play, but I'm super excited for Brendan Rice. You mentioned early in the game that they, it was a 3rd and short, and they ran behind Brendan Rice. Like, that shows you what
seriously.
a physical freak he is. To be how old is he? 17 years old.
And he almost made that play on the
18 years
sideline
old.
too.
Right,
The free play, double coverage, fought his way back through, and it was good coverage from a defender, and that's a ball that typically doesn't get thrown because it's such a risky pass. He fought well and gave himself a chance to catch it. That's tough to do when you're his age.
What I wanted to point out, though, is that Sam Noyer completely changes the trajectory of this program for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Because 6 months ago, we were saying, like, just start Brendan Rice, live with all of the freshman bumps, and get started on the track towards his, future greatness. Well, think of it this way. If Sam Noyer keeps playing like this, not only are you obviously not you're not going to see Brendan Rice this year, he can also redshirt next year, and then you have 4 years after that of Brendan Rice. He'll be a junior in school years the first time he steps foot on the field, and have 4 years of eligibility in front of him.
If that's what they want to do, that is on the table.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's the only receiver in this class.
Well, I'm talking about
Brendan Lewis. Oh, I was thinking Brendan Rice.
I might have
still.
said Brendan Rice.
Okay.
It's all right. It's a victory Saturday.
Yeah,
It's crazy though.
it, yeah.
But
I
if they
chugged my
wanted-
beer. I'm almost done with my wind ski.
If they wanted, they could do that with Brendan Rice, though. They have so many good receivers. Montana Lamonius Craig made it into the game last week. Keith Miller is somebody we haven't seen, but I'm really excited about. These young guys are going to have plenty of time in this program. In terms of like a year for all of this to happen, where it doesn't count for eligibility, all of that kind of stuff, this was the year when you have the recruiting class they had last year. But before we move on to everything you learned from that press conference, are there any other helmet stickers we want to get out?
Man, trying to think if there's any.
I mean, I think
we haven't given one to
Broussard.
Broussard.
Yeah,
yet.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
you
Jared
gotta.
Broussard probably throw it in there because he had 121. It was just an incredible game, and just to touch on that point too, Ryan. I mean, this season is so exciting because, like you said, originally this was supposed to be that developmental year, and as they're blaring AC/DC in the background and getting me all pumped up down at the bar. Now you've got stability for now, so you can win from now on, as well as, Broncos fans know John Elway was big on, didn't work for him, but maybe it will for us now with the Colorado Buffaloes. I mean, Jared Broussard, fantastic game. And again, that offensive line, they did have some holes. That move of moving Cushion at center, and it was felt at times, but yeah, I mean, holistically, the entire offense really played very well.
Yep.
We've been here before, but you're one win away from bowl eligibility. And coming into this year, I was very, adamant about the fact that I had no expectations. And I'm just going to stay in that spot. Like, I have no expectations from here on out, but I really like the way that this team plays football.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to have a chance in every game they play. And as long as they make big plays and big moments, they should be going bowling this year if, when push comes to shove, bowls actually happen. I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to that. But Karl Dorrel has never not taken a team to a bowl game as a head coach.
It's true.
One win away.
It's true.
Or if you... I don't know how it works. Maybe they're 2 wins away because they will end up playing 7 games when all is said and
I'm
done.
actually not sure.
Well, they said that it doesn't matter about win percentage. Every single team is eligible.
But
Then they said
but
something about Pac-12 teams.
Then the Pac-12
Oh.
decided that they were requiring that its schools be at least 500 to make a bowl game,
Well, we won't have
which
to
was
worry
a
about that.
contentious decision.
Because right now the Colorado Buffaloes are 2-0 and they're tied for first in the Pac-12 South.
Bigger
So-
question is, what do they have to do to get into the playoffs?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we should be talking
seriously, a bowl game.
about. Yeah.
All right.
And we do have Matt here in the comments letting us know that Oregon is losing to WSU, Washington State.
No way.
I said it on bets this week, and I don't want to speak too soon because I spoke too soon on Notre Dame. They ended up blowing out BC. Washington State is sneaky good still. They lost Mike Leach, and their offense is still legit. They have this freshman quarterback, Delora.
Delora?
I think it's just
Delora?
Delora, which is weird.
Yeah.
But he's nice.
Yeah, he's the one who's, I believe, from Honolulu.
8 of 11, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, he is from Honolulu. So Nick Rolovich, the new coach who replaces Mike Leach, he was coaching at Hawaii, was scouting him, and then brought him to Washington State and is starting him as a true freshman.
Jaden
Just pretty
Delora.
pretty cool story. But, yeah, back to Buff stuff. No more helmet stickers.
I'm good.
You're good? You're good? All right. Before we get into your notes from the press conference, I want to remind everybody, first of all, to like this if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, but also to get your questions into the chat because we're going to be going through all of those in just a minute. And if you don't have any questions, start thinking of some. All right. What are your big takeaways from the press conference?
Yeah, so we had 3 people come and speak. It was a little bit delayed, so I think they cut somebody off because they said they had to go catch the bus. To me, I don't understand. You own the plane, I think. So, but anyway, so we spoke with Karl Dorrel, Carson Wells, and Sam Noyer today. Karl Dorrel, again, has that same energy where, now you're 2-0. You might expect a coach to maybe get a little bit more excited. He remains even-keeled, and I think that's okay when you have other coaches on this staff like Darren Shiverini, who can get your team riled up and really be that rah-rah guy. So in that case, it's totally okay for Karl Dorrel to remain very steady.
It adds to it that he has the mask on, but literally his demeanor does not change ever at any point during the game.
Yep.
It's comforting for me. Like, whenever they cut to him, the same. And, like, it brings me back down to neutral every time they show him on camera.
Yep. I mean, he's not worried. And he talked a little bit about the end of the fourth quarter as well. He was directly asked, did you take your the pedal off the gas? And he said no, but we wanted to play smart. On that last drive, he said, we're running this ball 3 times because they don't have the timeouts. We're going to do that.
It's math.
Yeah, exactly. And with that in mind, too, he immediately cited that punt where we were all sitting around watching the game, let it bounce. He immediately said, that punt was good. We should have let it roll a little bit, take some more time off the clock. And I like that, too, because he immediately knew. He wasn't asked directly about the punt, but he's a smart guy. He's been coaching for, 32 years across college and the NFL. He knows so much about this sport that he immediately picked up on it and was ready to, he can digest that with the team, and I don't think they'll make that same mistake again.
They won't.
Yeah.
And that's, again, learning and winning. It's the best thing that you can do in football.
Yep.
And even then, what were did they only get 1 playoff?
Yep.
Even that? Even
it was the hook and ladder, yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't matter.
Yep.
Again, but I love that. It didn't matter. It mattered to Coach Dorrel.
Yeah.
Because he knows that they can be better, smarter, and improve in lots of different areas. And again, that just goes into winning and learning, and learning.
And he talked, too, about playing with a comfortable lead, and then he took a step back and said, and also, I hate using the term comfortable lead because, as we all saw today and as Buffs fans have been seeing for decades, no lead is ever comfortable. But he said, that's just part of the maturation process. And he cited that this is a young team. He said, we've got a freshman cornerback, referencing Christian Gonzalez, that they're going to go in and pick on. And they've just got to be able to go with the lumps and go with it. Another interesting thing, too, from Dorrel, he was asked if they thought the Buffs should be ranked in the top 25 this upcoming week. He kind of chuckled a bit, said it's not his place to comment on it, but he said, I hope this team earns the recognition they deserve in time. So it's that nice, quiet confidence that comes from Dorrel, and it trickles from the top down. Noyer talked about it, too, when he was up there, is, we're not going to go out there and be bold and be arrogant about it because, quite frankly, they haven't earned the right to be arrogant yet. But they believe in themselves, and they believe in the program that Dorrel is building, and it really shows.
Yeah. And
Feels good.
You have to wonder what's going through Karl Dorrel's head. To be in this particular situation, not having a head coaching job for 13 years and knowing the whole time, as he's told us, that he was doing everything that he was doing, thinking, I am going to be a head coach again. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm just going to make myself the best head coach possible when that day comes. On top of that, knowing you want to retire in Boulder. His family had already built a house. He was actually out in Boulder visiting when the job came open, and Rick George called and said, hey, do you think you could come out and talk? He's like, well, I'm already actually in town. We built a house here. These are Colorado people who want to be here, want to win here, and there's a certain kind of pressure that I feel like would come with that. And to see him just handle everything the way he's handled it, it's been really impressive.
It's been really impressive, and I hope that him and Sam Noyer can bond over this because they both traveled the same path, which is, and again, I said this last week, Buffs fans are my people. I love these people. But they already, for lack of a better term, pronounced both of these guys dead before they even had a chance to show what they had. Mm-hmm. And Karl Dorrel has coached 2 really good games. His team looks like a well-prepared football team to me from a game plan standpoint in both games. Looks really well prepared. And Sam Noyer the same way. Everyone decided that this season was a throwaway season the second that Sam Noyer was announced as the quarterback. I hope those two have like a little bond over that, which is like, no one believes in us. Like, I'm sorry, like many of my friends were saying like, oh, like Dorrel is just, a sacrificial lamb. like go out there and just take the beating for 2 years and get fired before they can hire someone better. And I hope both of these guys continue to prove people wrong.
I hope so too.
Absolutely.
I hope so too.
I mean, I think there's something to that underdog mentality, especially with this team that you touched on. And I mentioned it before, I'll say it again. At this point, I want all my quarterbacks to play safety because the way Sam Noyer is playing out on that field, it's determined.
He plays quarterback like a safety.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what, maybe you don't necessarily need that from your quarterback. You want him to take less hits when he can, but he's not afraid to put his body on the line. He's not afraid to put the team first, and I love that. And also, too, people forget, Karl Dorrel, he was a head coach, a decade and a half ago at UCLA. He took that team 5 years, 5 straight bowl trips. UCLA determined that wasn't good enough for their program, and we've seen how well that's gone for them since.
It's good enough for us, I promise.
Yes, absolutely. 5 for 5 would make Buffs fans in Boulder
I'll take 1
happy.
for 5.
Yes. So I think there's something to that. This guy, he's the one for this job. He's done a great job.
Speaking of Sam Noyer and playing safety, I feel like this was decided to be a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think it has unequivocally proven itself to be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Not only is he making all the plays with his arm, he's making all the plays with his eyes. I haven't seen him make a bad read yet. Mm-hmm. Look, the interception he threw today was the correct read.
And
he
how
just
do you
got
not
hit as he's throwing the ball.
How do you not give Dimitri Stanley a chance to go catch a ball when he has 3 steps on every defender?
Exactly.
If he can step into that throw correctly, that's a touchdown.
And, the reason there was pressure up the middle, that came from the spot where Kari Cooch would have been had Colby Purcell had Colby Purcell been in the game. Even the mistakes, you can say, well, here's why it happened, and I don't think that's going to be the case 3 weeks from now.
Like I said, my biggest worry is dropped passes. Like, he's putting the ball in the right spot. He knows what the defense is supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And so he is feeding off of that. I'm with you.
I mean, it's
Brendan Lewis. Put him on defense.
Exactly.
What I'm saying is put him on put him in the safety room right now for the rest of this year. Let him start figuring out what defenses are supposed to do. And it's really impressive to me, the reads he's making. Like, he's making, Andre Simone, who watches hundreds of college quarterbacks every year, is texting me. He's like, it's incredible how competent he is compared to college quarterbacks around the league. You just see college quarterbacks all over college football making incorrect reads and just kind of predetermining where they're going to throw the ball before it starts. This kid is hitting his back foot, going through his progressions, and delivering the ball in the right places, like time and time and time again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because the Buffs, they've had these huge leads, and then the other team has crept back. Not one time can I point to a Sam Noyer mistake or decision as a reason why the other team is getting back in the game. And I think that's great because of everything that you touched on. I mean, again, it's only been 2 starts, so there could be a reasonable expectation for him to regress for a game, but he is putting together a whole package between the talent. Cepho this week talked about how he's got the tightest mechanics of any other quarterback he's been with. He's got, obviously, the mental game with reading, and he's got the athleticism where they can run a diverse offense, and Darren Chiaverini can really just work with whatever he wants out of that playbook. It is really, really exciting. It's tough to talk down about a kid who, again, everybody doubted him. He's going out there shattering everybody's expectations.
It's been so much fun to watch. Before we move along...
Wait, really quick.
Okay.
Actually, go ahead.
Okay. Well, before we move along to the questions, are there any other notes that we need to know about?
Honestly, like I said, it was a rather short presser because they were trying to get out of there. But the one thing that I think everybody talked about, too, was next man up mentality because, they asked about Brady Russell's injury and asked about the injuries on the offensive line. Sam Noyer talked about it, Carson Wells talked about it, and Karl Dorrel all touched on we have a next man up mentality. We're not afraid. And I believe it was Carson Wells. He said everybody prepares like they're a starter, which I thought was interesting. They expect to get on the field and rotate throughout, so they have the confidence that they can play the position if they need to be called on. So when you see a guy go down like Brady Russell, that's going to hurt your offense. He was Noyer's #1 target last week, so it's going to be a reasonable expectation that the passing game might regress a little bit. Realistically, they just found ways to get to other parts of the playmakers. People were ready to have their number called if they needed it.
Did they mention anything just about what the injury was?
No talk on injuries. Nobody asked about it. So I'm going to assume that means always bad to assume about injuries, but we saw him on the sideline jogging around a little bit. He wasn't, in hoodie after halftime or anything like that. So you got to have a reasonable expectation that it wasn't shouldn't
serious,
be too serious. Yeah, so there should be a little bit of cautious optimism as far as Brady Russell goes.
Yep, and we'll be hearing from Karl on Monday, and we can ask then and hopefully get an update. Well, if that's it, before we answer your questions, get those in now if you haven't yet. I want to remind everybody about an awesome deal that is happening with Strava Craft Coffee. This is a special time because actually, if you let's start with the normal deal. The normal deal is that if you subscribe to any one of their products, their CBD infused coffees, you can get them on, I guess, subscription. They come every 2, 4, 6, 8.
Yep.
Is there maybe 3 weeks? I think 3 weeks.
2, 3, 4, 6, 8.
Yeah, sounds good. You want to explain that while I find? Oh, there it is.
There you go.
But yeah, you get every 2, 3, 4, 6, or 8 weeks. Plus, you get 20% off any product that you subscribe to, whether it's the K-Cups or the grounds or the whole beans. Strava Craft Coffee is a game-changing coffee that's really changing lives. Whether you have anxiety, IBS, back pain, it'll help with all sorts of different things. And right now, there's an even better deal. Through this Monday at midnight, all DNVR members can get 30% off their purchase at Strava. If you haven't tried this incredible CBD-infused coffee, now is the time. Because seriously, 30% off is a great deal. And let's see, if you became a member this week, you can reach out to help@thednvr.com to get your Strava coupon code. Otherwise, you should already have it. If you aren't a DNVR subscriber member, then you can also get 20% off your order using the code DNVR20. So check out some Strava Craft Coffee.
Why don't you tell people how they can become a DNVR member and help you out?
You can help me out. So here's how it works. There's this competition that we do about every year at DNVR, and the Buffs fans... the Buffs typically lose. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. This is a year when Buffs aren't losing, and so this is going to also happen here in this competition. The Buffs are going to win. The competition works like this. We're all trying to get as many new members as possible to use our promo code when they sign up. So for us, it's Buffs, just BUFFS, and you can get that when you just enter the promo code when you're getting a membership. And if you use that code, you'll get a whole bunch of awesome swag as well. You'll get your choice of any of the DNVR shirts. There's the new one that we keep plugging on the show. There it is again.
Beautiful.
A beautiful shirt. You can use it on that.
So good.
And whatever shirt you choose, you'll also get a free DNVR mask. You'll get a DNVR sticker pack, and you'll make me really happy. And we can, I don't know, if the Buffs win this competition, I don't know what I'll do, but it'll be something crazy. And we can work on that if we play
Henry's smile is priceless, folks.
I told Henry he has no chance of beating the Broncos in this competition, so prove me wrong.
You should throw a pizza party if the Buffs win.
Pizza party? I could throw a pizza party. Everybody meet at the DNVR bar. Also wear your mask and stay away.
Speaking of the DNVR bar, come down next week for the game.
Yeah, seriously, it was a lot of fun. Singing the fight song after every score.
Yep.
It felt so good to sing the fight song again, with other people, not just alone in your house. So if you want to come down.
You sing it when you're just at home?
I do.
When they win.
Okay.
I do after every score.
Interesting.
Speaking of prizes, I'm going rogue here. If anyone can name who all of these players are,
you can't give them away.
First of all, those are mine.
No, they're mine. They're in my office.
No, I'm not giving them away. Unbelievable. These are mine. My sister got them for me in Russia. If anyone can name who all 5 of these players are, number 7, 8, 4, 21, and 84, I'll give you a free DNVR shirt.
Oh, wow. The stakes have been raised, folks.
Yeah, I have all the names on the back on my side, and I still can't get close.
Okay, question time?
Yes, definitely question time.
Okay, so we have Matt here asking, legit question. Do you all feel that Karl Dorrel is an upgrade from Midnight Mel? Much love from Houston, Texas.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot to be discussed here.
Yep.
And you could do a whole podcast on this, and maybe we will soon. But I don't know. Time will tell. Where Mel Tucker, and this was the take I was about to unleash before I decided to let you do your reads. Where Mel Tucker succeeded so much was as a recruiter. And that's where Karl Dorrel is going to have to compete with Mel Tucker. From a game day preparation standpoint, right now I'll probably lean Karl Dorrel. But with that being said, he's going to have to recruit but success breeds recruiting. And there's 2 ways to recruit, and that's by just being a really good salesman, and the other one is by winning. And if Karl Dorrel can turn around and show kids right now, hey, I just took Colorado to their first bowl game, or their second bowl game in, 20 years at this point. We're building something special here. Not to mention we have the best uniforms in the country, and you can play early, and our facilities are brand new, and all those things. He's going to be able to sell this program. But the one thing that I don't want to hear is that Karl Dorrel is winning with Mel Tucker's players. Because he's not.
No, he definitely is not.
He's winning with Mike McIntyre's players.
Yeah, except for Brendan Rice.
Okay,
there is one.
No, there's a couple. Brendan Rice, Mark Perry.
Ashad Clayton got in there.
Ashad Clayton got in there.
Was Mark Perry a Mel Tucker recruit?
I think so. I don't know.
Because he played last year. He would have been late in the cycle, but it's possible.
I think so. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Either way, I don't want to hear it.
Either way.
He might at some point win with Mel Tucker's players, but right now, that's not what's going on. So don't try to, do this trickle-down economics thing and say that, Karl Dorrel's succeeding because of Mel Tucker. It's simply not true.
Karl Dorrel is succeeding with a quarterback who Mel Tucker put at safety. Now, that's not to say that Sam Noyer should have been starting over Steven Montez last year, but, I mean, you look at the success into this year, and you can't tell me that Sam Noyer should have been playing safety in front of Tyler Lytle, Blake Stenstrom, because Sam Noyer's balling right now. Sam Noyer's in a legitimate conversation up there as the best players in this conference. So, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Sam Noyer is playing like a kid who... Hopefully he doesn't, but if he wanted to go to the NFL after this year, he would be invited to the Senior Bowl. Like, that's the type of quarterback that he's playing right now.
If he keeps it up,
for
it's still
sure. Like I said, he's playing right now.
Yeah, right now, though, he's looking like he should get drafted compared to, the other quarterbacks we're seeing all over the place. But, the one place where you really have to give Mel Tucker some credit is with the defense. Coming in, this is all entirely his scheme, which Tyson Summers helped him run last year. And in the offseason, actually, when we were going through the coaching change, we learned Tyson Summers would be back. I asked a couple of my sources, was the defensive success late in the year more because of Mel or more because of Tyson? And it was basically a 50-50 split, which goes to say that maybe Tyson Summers is capable of his own thing. But whatever the case, this defense isn't here in Boulder without Mel Tucker. Now, maybe some other defense would be successful, but we are in year 2 of the defensive scheme he implemented, and it is going very well.
It's also given up over 30 points back-to-back weeks.
Yeah,
now,
there's that too.
Some of that is garbage time, and so I'm not gonna say that it's a knock, because the defense has done enough to win in back-to-back weeks. That's all you ever asked for.
And the thing that I think really seals it for Karl, honestly, is that he isn't just going to up and leave.
Absolutely.
That isn't even a threat. He is in Colorado for the long haul. He's here until he gets fired or he retires. I truly believe that. And hopefully he builds a program while he's here. But the one thing we certainly know is that he isn't going to do what Mel Tucker did, which makes Mel Tucker a significantly less valuable head coach because of that threat.
Shut out today, by the way.
Speaking
in case you hadn't heard.
What did they score last week? 7?
Which
7
was
points in 2
exactly
weeks.
1/7 of what their opponent scored.
Yeah. 7 points in 2 weeks. Mel
Yep.
Tucker's offense, not his offense. Jay Johnson's offense, which, averaging 3.5 points per game over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Buffs are averaging 3.5 points per possession, I would venture to guess.
Yeah, and just real quick, Allie, before you jump to the next one, that's why as soon as, Allie, you read this question, I immediately said yes. Unequivocally yes, because Karl Dorrel believes in this program. It is now clear that Mel Tucker was using Colorado as a
Stepping stone.
Yeah, exactly, a stepping stone program. Whereas Karl Dorrel believes this is that program to build your career at. So absolutely.
Henry, you made the Gary Barnett comparison to me over the offseason. Said I think Karl Dorrel can be a Gary Barnett for this program, and to this point, I think it's a perfect comparison. And Gary Barnett's easily the best coach the Buffs have had in my lifetime. Well, I guess I was alive for the end of the Bill McCartney era, but at least in my true fandom.
Am I safe to ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Al.
Sorry.
Okay, are we sure? This is the last Mel Tucker question I will highlight, but someone said, would Mel be 2-0 if he was still at Colorado?
Impossible to say. But what we can certainly say is that the
Sam
execution...
Noyer wouldn't have been the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
It would have been Brendan Lewis, and that would probably have a lot more freshman bumps. And if he was still here, you would also be seeing Jay Johnson's offense still.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, you don't know for sure. But
There's no way of knowing for sure, but
I can't think of any positives.
I can't say yes confidently.
Would a Jay Johnson offense put up 48 points to beat UCLA?
Did the Jay Johnson offense ever put up 48
no,
points?
that's so.
Did Jay Johnson have an offense? Or did he just have like a bunch of guys out there?
I mean, he did call the flea flicker against Nebraska. He'll always have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why he will be remembered
What
very
did they score?
differently.
I think they dropped a 50 piece on CSU last year.
Yeah, they did
did
score
they?
more. I think it was 52.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, we're...
But
I think I could drop 52 on CSU.
seriously. Yeah. More questions?
Next question. We've got a lot, so
right, let's hear 'em.
maybe let's speed it up a little bit. Do you think Noyer's knowledge playing safety last year has helped lead in reading defenses in the first 2 games?
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It 100% like, I guess I can't say it 100% has because
He's
I don't know
told
how
us.
he read defense before.
He's told us that it did help. He said that was huge for him, seeing how they think about the game and what they look for.
Honestly, I truly believe that, I just said that Brendan Lewis can basically have a double red shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not kidding when I say I think he should sit in on some safety meetings.
No, honestly. And that's the question because Sam points to a couple of different things. He points to the time he spent safety. He also points to what it meant for his development to spend so much time around Cepho and Steven as they were going through this process. And I think that Brendan's still in the phase where he really needs to see how Sam approaches things because Sam knows. And once Sam's gone, there isn't going to be somebody who knows. But maybe a couple meetings.
I'm telling you, once a week he should be sitting in with the safeties.
There is no
Yeah.
evidence to suggest that playing safety and then going back to quarterback does not work.
That's
So,
Doesn't make you a legitimate Heisman candidate.
Okay, next question from Peter Martin. He says, okay, impossible question. Rank the talent of our wide receivers. We are loaded.
Look at Daniel Arias had 1 catch today.
who was called DK Metcalf Jr. by Katie Nixon in the offseason, and he had 1 catch.
I think that his role is still developing. I think that what he is going to be really good at is being a deep threat. And we just haven't seen Sam take many of those deep
Except
shots.
for I love how well he recognizes the offsides.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only times he's really thrown the 9 route, I think.
Yeah, but they haven't been to Arias yet. And I think that it might just take some time, but certainly he has not produced in the way that I had hoped.
I'm watching this
Never seen him play
Florida-Arkansas
before.
game over here. Every time I look up, there's a touchdown being scored.
Yeah, that's SEC football. People don't want to admit it, but it's all offense now.
I think the best receiver on this team right now is Dimitri Stanley.
Yes.
I think you want to rely on Katie because he's been here a while and he's shown flashes, but Katie's not healthy. He's not been on the field, so you have to look at production in this year and also the chemistry with Sam Noyer. Dimitri Stanley really tops that list. Interesting to see when Katie gets back onto the field what his role looks like, what that's going to be like.
Yeah, whose snaps does he take? Where does he fit in? Just for what it's worth, 42 first half points in this Arkansas-Florida game.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, technically Maurice Bell has been starting in Katie Nixon's place. Is it Daniel Arias or Maurice Bell who goes to the bench? I'm not so sure. I know that to me, I have Katie Nixon just a half step. He's my 1A, Dimitri Stanley 1B. From there down, I go Maurice Bell. I go Vontae Chenault. I go Daniel Arias, although I do think that Daniel has a significant chance of just rising up all the way toward the number 2, number 3 spot with one big game, which he is definitely capable of. And then from behind Arias, probably Brendan Rice next. Jalen Jackson right there behind him.
I
They've
mean,
got a lot of options.
There's no fair way of
Exactly.
doing this.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he said it was impossible.
I know, but Brendan Rice could easily be number 1. We just haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Yeah.
Because they can't target a guy 20 times a game. They're spreading the ball around really well, and all these guys are flashing. That's why, after today, I'm like, I want to see more Levante Chenault out there. He looked great. But again, it's that question of whose snaps are you going to eat into because everybody's playing so well.
I absolutely love this question from Will Wong. 10 years ago, our hoops team lost Basdelic to Wake Forest, and we, quote-unquote, settled for Tad Boyle. Deja vu? Go Buffs.
Yep.
It checks out for me.
Yeah, seriously.
Back then I remember people were calling Mike Bone I-25 Mike because he hired Danny Sanchez to coach the soccer team. I believe he was at Wyoming at the time.
Okay.
And then he hired Tad Boyle to coach the basketball team, and he was, of course, at Northern Colorado. Both of those have seemed to work out pretty well. Both coaches are still here. Yep. So this very well could be that type of situation. The Buffs kind of lucked into Tad Boyle. Like, you couldn't have predicted Tad Boyle to be the best coach in Colorado history when they hired him.
And it's only getting better.
Yeah.
Like they are just about to enter the golden era of Colorado basketball.
I mean, at least in recruiting, that's what this suggests.
Yeah, and even Tad himself has said, this is the best backcourt I've ever coached. Which is saying something when you look at all the backcourts that he's had.
Spencer Dinwiddie and Askia Booker.
Yeah.
And that shows what happens when you have coaches that buy into the culture and are looking to just build their own program. I could go on and on about Tad Boyle because I'm a college hoops guy. Got some articles dropping on the DNVR soon. Shameless plug there. Subscribe to the DNVR.com. But
using promo code Buffs.
Promo code Buffs.
If you're gonna do it, you got to do it.
I mean, you just need to get a guy in the building that believes in the building, believes in being there, and it's clear that Mel Tucker didn't. And
did he pretend well though?
Oh, great actor, phenomenal, Academy Award-winning actor. But yeah.
More questions?
I almost cursed.
We have a lot of questions. I told
real
you
quick,
that. No, real quick. Peter Martin
quick.
is really close to guessing the names on there, but he asked for the last number again because it's very teeny.
See, now he's looking stuff up. What does he say?
He just said, what's the last number? It's teeny.
It's 84. What was his guess, though?
7, Cody Hawkins. 8.
Okay, he's way off. He's way off. He
doesn't want to buy a shirt. My goodness.
But I'm serious. He is way off.
Oh, wow. I didn't read the others.
So the last number is 84. But you're...
Dang, Peter.
You're off to... I'm not even going to say.
I mean, that would have been a better bobblehead, I will say. Or not bobblehead.
Yes, I wish the collection was
yes.
what he said they were.
Yes, but these Russian made
were from Russia.
Yeah.
In Russia, they weren't really figuring out who were legends around too.
No, got the colors right though. Next question though.
Okay, we've got some questions from Twitter. First one is, what did you think of the O-line shuffle today from Dylan?
There were struggles.
Yeah.
There were struggles specifically early, and I mentioned them in passing, but basically what happened was Colby Purcell couldn't play the center, and a very good center at that. They moved Kari Cooch from guard to center, and there's the laugh. My goodness, guys, 5 more games. You guys better tighten up. But we have who subbed in? It was
You
Chance
guys really
Lytle.
flustered
Chance Lytle,
Henry.
yeah, left guard.
Chance Lytle.
Every time they laugh, they fluster you.
Every time I lose my train of thought. It's like, okay, here we are, this nice mature show.
I'm excited for 4 more of these.
Yeah,
5 more, yeah.
6 more.
6 more, yeah.
Yes.
Wait,
7. College football playoff, that's 2. Okay, but Chance Lytle comes in left guard, and we saw him struggle early. A couple of those plays were blown up. I think he had one on the first drive. The pick was because he didn't pick up a stunt that came his way, and it just the guy wound up in Sam's lap. The answer was, early on in the game, I thought they probably should have kept Josh Gines at center because he was able to get the job done last week, but for some reason they thought they had to make the switch. I didn't notice anything that would make me think that you got to do something different, but what happened early didn't really work, and it did get better from there, though. And there were problems in the beginning of the last game, too. Just timing issues with polls and that sort of thing that got tightened up quickly, so it's not like the start to the last game was perfect either.
Yeah.
I mean, I would echo that. I would always... and obviously my coaching experience is none, but I would say if you're making changes to the offensive line, you're going to want to just change one position rather than 2 because you want to try and keep as much of that cohesion together, because we saw that last week. Giants plugged in there and the offensive line really didn't skip much of a beat, but, again, to that point, some struggles early, but they were able to bounce back. They finished the game fairly strong, so I think offensive line overall still deserved helmet stickers like we talked about, and once you get Colby Purcell back, I mean, Jarek Broussard back up in the 200-yard per game conversation.
I can't believe he just printed out a 120-yard game.
It really didn't feel like
it was not a sexy 120 yards, and it's not like he didn't average a good number.
No, it was 4.5 per carry. It was so really good.
The game was so well coached to get the ball in his hands. Because there were times early on where we said, Why aren't you giving the ball to Jarek? Why aren't you giving the ball to Jarek? Why are these other running backs in the game? And he wound up getting the ball 27 times just on the ground.
I think they were trying to get those other guys in a rhythm.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Feed your bell cow.
Give him 35.
I want him early, and if you have to go to Mangum when you're trying to salt it late, I don't love that either, but...
Yeah.
I think whenever teams try and get two backs involved, neither do. Because you need those touches
just look
to
at the
get in a rhythm.
Broncos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so Jarek Broussard got in a rhythm, 27 carries out, maybe a little bit much, but it worked.
Yeah.
So,
all right, what else we got?
Okay.
We were not quick that time. Sorry.
No, not quick at all. It's okay.
Does anyone have anywhere to go on a Saturday night?
I wish.
We still have
Someday
people.
I
I'm going downstairs to drink more. That's the only place I got to go.
We still have people hanging out, so thank you for everyone who's watching. Like Henry said, go give this a like if you're watching on YouTube. Go give it a like if you are watching on Periscope, on the Twitter. Okay, David said, if everyone has a free year of eligibility, how does that affect scholarship numbers and incoming freshmen across the country?
Yeah, don't talk to a compliance person about this because it's their literal nightmare.
Yeah.
do we even know?
We don't know.
Yeah, the thing with that is it's pretty much determined at the top level, and I think the NCAA is taking as much time as they can to figure all that out.
It's going to go up.
Yeah.
They have no choice. It's just like they have no choice but to allow teams to give out more scholarships because this came out of nowhere.
For those who don't follow, FBS teams are allowed to have 83 scholarships, 85 scholarships. And so by giving all these scholarships to the seniors again next year, you wind up with a weird number situation. But yeah, I asked Tad about it early in basketball camp because that's when they were starting to learn about what was going to happen there. And
I've just heard that like Tad is like, we need 20 scholarships. Like, I'm sorry, just deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Basically what he said was, yeah, I love it. I think they should get another year here. I have no idea how they're going to do it with the scholarships, though. And it's like, okay, well, that's really going to be a big deal.
We have no idea. It's going to be, for lack of a better term, a shit show.
Yep. It'll work out in the end,
but they'll figure out a way.
Yep.
Okay, Peter.
You're not going to take kids off of scholarship.
No.
That would be evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, well, the NCAA is kind of an evil organization at some time.
That's
but
true.
I would say that they figure out a way to do the right thing here.
All right, Peter here says, I give up.
All right, if no one else is guessing except Peter, I'll give out the names here. 7, Cody Hawkins. 8, Demetrius Sumler.
Oh, wow.
21, Demetrius Sumler is a deep cut. Number 4, Patrick Williams. Shout out, he's an NFL coach these days. I run into him at the combine every year. Awesome dude. Speaking of awesome dudes,
you have that?
I haven't.
It's
Maybe
never
I
come
will
up
next time. Number 21, Scotty McKnight. Number 84, Tyson DeVray. So all of these were from one season. They aren't legends. That's where you got caught up there,
So
Peter.
Peter got 2 right. He got Cody Hawkins and then Scotty McKnight.
So you get 2 fists of a shirt, just like the midsection. So you can either have a crop
No,
or like
you just
a belt.
get 2 sleeves.
Oh, sleeves only. Don't do that to him.
Only sleeves. You can wear it as like a do-rag.
Oh, yeah. Questions, Alex.
Okay, guys. We have 3 more questions. We've got Peter here asking, I'll go for your question first since you have been the only one guessing. Important question, is next game for bowl eligibility or do we get to at least 4? You guys touched on that a little bit, but quickly.
I honestly don't think it's been clarified. At least I haven't seen anywhere whether you have to be 500 includes your week 7 game. But all I know is that I think as of right now, if a team makes a college football playoff, Pac-12 gets 7 bowl games. If not, they get 6. And if you wind up in a situation where one of your teams could have been in a bowl game and they don't get into a bowl game, there should be riots.
Yeah, you failed. You failed. You failed your conference.
I will riot.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Hank. We don't get to charge the field this year, so we'll riot instead.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say.
Quickly.
The Buffs, no.
The way you start that just means it's going to be a long one.
Okay, so think of it this way. The Buffs have already shown they can beat bottom half of the Pac-12 conference teams pretty easily. If they're in the top half of the conference, that means they already secured bowl eligibility.
Yep.
If they're in the bottom half of the conference, let's say they go 3-3, and they're playing a bottom half of the conference team in Game 7, I think they're going to win anyway.
Yep.
So they're going to go 4-3. They're going to win that game. They're going to go to a bowl, and they're going to go 5-3, and we'll be happy.
Real quick, Allie, I'm sorry. just because I think I don't want to temper expectations. I don't want to be that guy, but also I feel like the end of this season might feel like March Madness, where the Buffs should have gone to dancing, but it didn't because it didn't happen. I don't know how many bowls are going to be around for a 4-3 Pac-12 team because you might see some cut. So just also,
I mean,
but
if they go 4-3, the season is a unequivocal success.
Absolutely.
And whatever happens with bowl games and all that doesn't matter.
But with that being said, next week is a must-win against Arizona State because you got to show that you're able to compete.
Yep, and right now, like I said, 6 Pac-12 teams should make bowls, 7 if there's a college football playoff team.
Unlikely.
That's because there have already been 2 Pac-12 bowl games cut, and there could be more between now and then. That number could go down. I'd be surprised if it goes up.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't end up playing any bowl games outside of the Pac-12 or the college football playoff.
It's possible. But it's one of those things that if I would have told you we'd be right here, we would have been right here 3 months ago. Wouldn't have believed that either.
Yeah.
A question, though? Allie?
Yes.
Sorry.
More questions. Here, Peter's saying Allie's ready to go. No,
She
I'm
is.
not ready to go.
Oh.
I just want to make sure all these questions are answered. We're already going an hour 20.
Allie
and
hates
these
Buffs
people,
talk.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Absolutely
Allie hates
not.
the Buffs.
It's a celebratory pod.
Allie hates the Buffs.
All right.
We're here all night.
Lies.
Yeah, if you guys need more Buffs talk, we'll be at the DNVR bar.
Anyways,
Seriously, come hang out.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's some people who've been waiting for their questions to be answered, so I just want to get to them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not ready. I'm staying here at the bar for a while. I'm just saying I want to answer all of these. Next question is,
We just got
what
scolded.
coach do you best compare Dorrel's style to?
Gary Barnett.
From Antonio.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I mean, does it have to be? Are we just looking for Buffs
It could be any
comparisons?
coach.
Or
It could be any coach.
I
I like Gary Barnett had that even keel type of thing going for him. I know he ended up having some controversy later in his career, which I don't think you'll see under Karl Dorrel. But just, the good preparation, the calmness, the desire to be at Colorado, I get a lot of Gary Barnett.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to come up with one. It seems like nobody's going after offensive
David
minds.
Shaw is one that people have made.
Yeah.
I think that's a good comp. I mean, it shows that you can put together a good game plan. Your teams are going to be competitive. David Shaw had some highs, has had some lows, but overall, he's a strong head coach. I mean, anybody would have taken David Shaw in a heartbeat if he had the chance. So,
Yeah, that's a good one. It's just so tough to find because even David Shaw, the things that he does, they feel a bit stale. And when you watch his Buffs offense, nothing
not stale.
feels stale about it at all.
But that's Chev.
That is probably more Chev than anything.
Chev, people. This is what why I always say coaches are allowed to learn too, because
Yes.
everyone is on board with players learning. Everyone thinks players will progress as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely does it happen with coaches. Rarely do people say, "Oh, he'll get better." And Darren Chiaverini got to do the dance once, and he made a lot of mistakes. I'll never forget that USC game when the Buffs were undefeated, where they just went east and west the whole game, and they got
The
crushed.
entire game.
And that was Darren Chiaverini's one and only year as a play caller,
And he had LaVisca Chenault out there.
and he did.
And
so,
his strategy seemed to be feed LaVisca Chenault.
and then LaVisca got turf toe, and the game plan kind of went in the garbage. But coaches are allowed to learn. Coaches are allowed to get better. Darren Chiaverini, to me, is already proving himself to be a better play caller now than he was then. But even then, he was really good at exploiting teams' weaknesses. Remember that first game against CSU where he literally just ran LaVisca Chenault underneath the offensive line like 7 or 8 times in that game, and it was unstoppable. And he recognized that for whatever reason and made it work. And he did that a lot of times throughout the year. Obviously, that's the year where the Buffs lose 7 straight to finish the season, and so everyone had a stale taste in their mouth. Something had to change, but people don't realize enough that coaches can learn and coaches can get better. Darren Chiaverini showed a lot of potential that year, but things had to change because of what happened, and so I'm excited to see what he has now.
Yeah, and I think that it's too early to say that he's going to be great or anything like that, but through 2 weeks, he has been on fire calling plays.
You certainly don't regret now that you had to promote him to keep him around.
Seriously.
Not at all.
Seriously, and it's worth remembering that this is his first time having total control. Because even before, he was a co-offensive coordinator and was kind of splitting those responsibilities. But you look at a guy with Cheverini's background from Texas Tech with the air raid, going through everything he's gone through, now getting these West Coast pieces from Karl Dorrel. This is what you want an offense to be. These are all the pieces of what you want an offense to be. Don't laugh at me when I'm talking. You know. But
Can you just run
seriously,
through
I'm
the
excited.
offensive line real quick?
I was thinking about it.
Allie, question?
Now we're gonna just sit here and laugh.
I'll sit here. I'll sit here quietly until there's a question.
No, I totally agree. Watching Chev play call this year compared to last year is just like no other. It's completely different. And he
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, he did need to grow. He did need that time to learn. And I think what people were expecting 2 years ago was just him to figure it out throughout the season, and it didn't happen. He needed a full season of those mistakes, like that USC game that haunts Buffs fans, to get to where he is today. So I totally agree. Eric here in the comments saying Michael Malone gets better every year.
He does.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Coaches learn too.
Make a shirt.
Make a
Please.
shirt. I wonder if we can put his face on it.
That
Okay.
seems degrading.
Yeah, that doesn't have the positivity that. Okay.
Quick shout out to Scott Carpenter here saying, ordered my Strava today. Looking forward to see if it helps my back.
Shout out
Yeah.
Scott Carpenter.
Let
Great
us know.
park.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, you see, you're not a true Boulder guy.
Scott Carpenter
No.
Park, a great place to hang at Inu over the little creek there.
Yep.
Henry looks so lost.
Boulder Creek runs through Scott Carpenter Park. Nice sledding
Boulder
hill.
Creek.
There's also a rocket ship on a playground there because Scott Carpenter was an astronaut.
No way.
Yep.
That's Scott Carpenter?
Yes.
Hey, congrats,
person-
Scott.
Well, no,
listening
this
is
isn't
not.
that Scott Carpenter.
Okay.
Oh my God, Henry.
I'm sure what you do is cool too, Scott Carpenter. And also tell us
Regular
what you think of that Strava Craft coffee. And again,
bomb.
non-psychoactive. Won't make you think you're on the moon.
Which to me is a negative, but to many is a positive.
Okay. DNVR after dark getting real. All right.
Yeah. Oh, is there Pac-12 football starting?
Yes.
No, still, this is more important. though.
Oregon and Washington State.
Next question.
Yeah, that's
Go Buffs 3 asks, if I asked you 6 months ago in May of this year, what are the odds that Noyer and Broussard will both start for CU this season and the Buffs will start 2-0? What would you have said?
Zero.
chance.
I would have said zero and been very wrong.
I would have said like, oh, is the world about to end?
Yeah.
That would,
No,
there would have been yes. is
Six
the answer.
months ago, there was no chance. Jarek Broussard, I don't think.
Sam Noyer wasn't even on.
No,
the
I mean, there's no.
Sam had moved back
what's
to
the
Oregon.
accident?
What's crazy about Jarek Broussard is he was bemoaned last year because Max Borghi was balling out. The reason Max Borghi decommitted was because the Buffs accepted a commitment from Jarek Broussard. Now, you know, Max Borghi is an elite Pac-12 running back.
Yep.
And whether or not Jarek Broussard ends up being better than him is to be seen. But I remember having this conversation last year, which was like, oh, Broussard's just some injured guy that we may never even see.
Right.
They took a huge L there accepting that commitment. Well, so far, so good. Like I said, you know, he's averaging, over 150 yards per game?
Scott Carpenter's related to Scott Carpenter.
Hey!
He says,
Wow.
no, I wish I was an astronaut, but I am related to him.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I'm not related to any astronauts.
Man,
Okay, but
that must
seriously,
keep you up at night.
Like, what are the top
It
four
sounds like
coolest
it does
jobs?
keep him up at night.
I don't think there's anybody in the world who wouldn't say astronauts top four coolest job.
Okay, so working at DNVR, number one. No, I'm just
Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm not an astronaut.
I don't know what is a cool
That's
job. Astronaut.
that's why he's not an astronaut.
Yeah.
Maybe-
astronaut,
I think I might be a little bit
professional
tall, too.
athlete.
Yes, being president, maybe.
No.
No, that's a bad job.
I don't want to be
Ben-
hated by 70 million
Ben,
people.
you would say that. I'm not
related.
surprised that you
shout
said
out
that.
to my great grandfather Ulysses S.
Astronaut?
Grant.
Oh,
No
wow.
way.
yes, I'm not joking.
You might get canceled over
Le-
that.
Wait, why?
I don't know.
Was he a bad guy?
No, he led the Union to a victory
Okay.
in the Civil War.
Let's go,
and
Ulysses
he was
S. Grant.
the something president.
Oh,
like
wow,
the
don't even
18th,
know.
Maybe.
Wow.
Ish.
You got to know that.
Probably, but
I'm
I haven't
related-
spoken to Grandpa in so long. You know.
I'm related to Woody Allen. I might get canceled for that. I don't
Really?
know. Yeah.
I'm related to Wagner,
Who's that?
classical composer, German, hundreds of years ago. Actually, no, I think I'm going to research this and we can come back next week, but I think that he might have actually had ties to some
Can we get a graphic made up that's just
not
like
good
famous
Germans.
relatives that are in the intro segment?
I have multiple people in my family who are presidents of Ecuador.
Oh,
Really?
And there's a castle in Spain named the Monroy Castle.
I don't know how that
Oh.
compares.
There's a Königsberg Castle in Germany.
There we go.
There's
we
a
got
Chisholm Castle.
castles here.
No, there isn't.
Damn.
Don't talk about the sand castle you made.
Okay. Anyways.
Any more questions?
Yeah. Okay. Where is Katie Nixon? Jennifer York asks that.
On
Hurt.
the sideline.
Yeah.
He was dressed today, though. According to Brian Howell, he tweeted that he was dressed on the sideline, went through warm-ups, didn't play.
It'd be super awkward if he wasn't dressed on the sidelines.
Naked Katie Nixon. I don't know.
God.
Yeah, I don't know where to.
I think Dorrel mentioned too that he could have played last week if they needed him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think KD's
Wow, what a
absence
slap
is
in the face to Stanford. And UCLA.
yeah. I mean,
Didn't need him.
I mean, honestly, I think that's a testament to this receiving core. Like they really don't need to push KD. They can wait and maybe, hopefully, have him back for some of these bigger games against Arizona State and USC.
Yep. And he's been day to day for the last 2 weeks. Basically
You
saying
have
like
to
he's gonna
imagine
go.
he'll be good to go next week.
I would be surprised if he isn't. But we don't even know who they're going to play. It's supposed to be Arizona State.
I'm calling
State.
it now. USC is this week.
I think it's USC this week too. I think they make the switch.
Sure.
ASU and Utah both having COVID problems.
Yeah.
So take away both of their games against Colorado. Say, okay, we'll play during a different week.
Yep.
And you get Colorado USC this weekend.
That was actually a question, so good
That's
job,
a good
guys.
question. Yeah.
See,
guys-
Allie, we are answering these questions.
You answered it without even knowing that was a question.
I'm worried about that. And I just hope they just say like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Colorado USC this week.
Here's a better question. Let's start here. If Colorado does get this rescheduled, they play USC. USC, which won today, was ranked 20th, I believe, coming into today. Does that get Colorado ranked?
Yes.
If they beat USC, absolutely.
What if they beat Arizona State?
Yes.
Absolutely.
What? So is it any win next week they get in, or are there some teams they could beat and still not make it?
I mean, if they somehow play them like Colorado State, they're not going to get ranked.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I mean, but who would put that?
but
Colorado State.
I think that they will get ranked regardless of who they beat next week.
I think so too. I think this is a big week.
I mean, the Pac-12 conference isn't, it's not necessarily your top tier conference, but it still has more talent than, some like church organization that Ohio State and Bama always opens their seasons against,
You know what my favorite thing about this win is, and I love a lot of things about this win. They lost the turnover battle.
Oh, yeah.
You can look back at last week and say like, oh, well, UCLA just turned the ball over at an alarming rate, and that's why Colorado beat them. Well, they lose the turnover battle 1-0 today and win the football game.
And they dropped 4 damn picks.
They
Over
should've
and over and
had
over.
them.
The
They
double
seriously-
dropped
The double
pick
drop.
is the most Buffs thing that I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like, it goes through one guy's hands perfectly and right into another guy. He didn't even have to put it in his hands.
No.
He could have body caught it.
Yeah.
Just
I think-
opened up the jersey and let it fall in.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That was the most Buffs thing I've ever seen in my life.
And
if
I'll
we
be
lost,
honest.
I would have cried over that play.
I was a little concerned coming into this week because of what you mentioned. UCLA had 4 turnovers, and 3 of them it was almost back to back to back. And I
Yep.
mean, at that point, how are you not going to win the
Game-changing,
game?
yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the momentum was completely swung. So again, this week you lose that turnover battle, but you take advantage of all your other opportunities. I mean, it was a different type of win than last week. They're winning in different ways, and I think that's the most promising in what was supposed to be a underwhelming and developmental season. They're shattering all those expectations.
And to go back to like the Pac-12 conference being weak, that Stanford team that Colorado just beat, they've had the same head coach for the last decade, and in the last decade, they rank in the top 10 in the entire NCAA in total wins, in All-Americans, in NFL draft picks, in current NFL players. Sure, they had a down year last year, but that has been a very good program consistently over the last decade, and you can find those all over the conference.
Yeah.
This whole Pac-12 is bad thing, it is so overblown.
Yep.
The only difference is you don't have an Ohio State to make all of the garbage behind you look a lot better.
Yeah.
You look at the Big Ten and tell me who outside of Ohio State or Wisconsin could go toe-to-toe with Oregon and make it a
Wisconsin
game.
can't even go toe-to-toe with Ohio State.
No.
Right.
No.
And I mean, I'll give some shout out to Indiana because they're playing some good ball right now. But yeah, that is a very top-heavy conference. Normally, it's Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. This year, Wisconsin squeaks in there because Penn State is a clown show, and Mel Tucker is ruining Michigan State. But, well, I guess that school is kind of
Mel Tucker should have realized that following up Mark D'Antonio was going to be a
lot more pressure there than if he would have stayed here.
Exactly.
But, yeah,
we would have
absolutely.
lived with 5 and 7 for like 2 more years.
Yeah.
And now we
looking
don't
at-
have to.
And looking too at what the Big 12 is, the Big 12 isn't doing anything this year, so it's just Pac-12 needs to start to get a little bit more credit.
First of all, there are 10 teams in the Big 12, which
Huge
is
problem.
dumb to start. But of those 10 teams coming into this week, 9 of them had at least 2 losses.
Wow.
They're not good.
No.
Yeah.
None of them were undefeated, and I'm not sure what happened today, but it.
And their highest rated
Couldn't-
team, I think, is Oklahoma State, and I think they're tremendously
Super
overrated.
overrated.
So
You go 1v1, 2v2, all the way down, Pac-12, Big 12. Pac-12 comes out on top.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
Anything else, Allie?
Yeah, a lot more.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I don't see Allie right now because the light is just right in
Yeah,
the way, so I just
so
hear a
you
voice
just
in the
keep
background.
talking,
Very
Ben, and
disappointed
I'm
Her teeth
in
are
it.
so bright, though. Sometimes I can see the teeth.
I am literally like
It's like a Wizard of Oz
staring.
situation.
Shout out Green Mountain
Staring.
Dental.
Allie, just grab a pen and throw it at me.
I'm
That'll-
just
I'll get the
staring
hint.
Henry and Ryan down like, okay.
We can't.
It's
we
great
really
that
can't see.
I know. And then tomorrow morning on the tailgate, we have to watch her make faces at us.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's true.
Ugh.
Plenty of light then.
Anyways,
Maybe we
Peter here asks, do any of you have a vote in the AP poll, and who are you putting at number 2 behind CU?
Honored
No.
to be even thought that I might have a
Henry
vote.
has a vote in Pac-12
I
Player
have all
of the
the
Week.
Pac-12, which I will. Oh my goodness, I wasn't gonna say this, but since it came up, I forgot to submit my Player
You
of the Week
shouldn't have
ballot
said
last
it.
week. Well, too late. But I forgot to send it in, and Jarek Broussard won Offensive Player of the Week, only running back other than Phil since they joined the Pac-12 to get it, and all day. But until that came out, I
You
was
were
like,
just
oh
worried
no,
that you were
is it
gonna
my
cost it
fault
to
that Jarek didn't get it? And so I will not be forgetting that.
Chef
But yeah,
Noyer RD this week, right?
Chef Noyer RD.
You have to. 4 total touchdowns, a killer nickname. He's getting ready for the
2 killer
Heisman race.
nicknames.
Yeah, I mean, come on now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brent here asking a few more thoughts on that front 7. I don't think we've given them enough love. Sky's
It's
the
impossible.
limit.
It's impossible to give that group enough love. That is, I would take that front 7 over just about any front 7. Even
I
like,
had Broncos fans tweeting at me, can the Broncos offensive line and the Buffs offensive line switch? Because that's how desperate Broncos fans are right now.
I mean, the Buffs have been awesome in the trenches. Offensive line, defensive line.
they've been incredible.
And that front seven on defense is special. Like, they have special players in multiple spots along that group.
And if you want to say it isn't the best front 7 in the Pac-12, your argument would be that it's Oregon. Stanford's played both these teams, and we saw what happened to both.
yeah.
Oregon-
Stanford gashed them up the middle because they had 2 true freshman linebackers in, and neither of them really knew what they were doing. And now you see what Colorado can do. I mean, that group can carry this team a long ways in this conference.
Yeah.
Oregon down 19-13 at half.
Wow. Okay, Scott here, or Brent here also saying thanks for all the great coverage, guys. Always a blast to
19-14.
tune in. Thanks for hanging out, Brent. Okay, Peter here saying there's literally a food named after you, Ryan. I don't want to guess how to pronounce that. You can pronounce that.
Königsberg Klops?
I'm glad we all struggled. He says
I don't think it's very good.
delicious.
Tell me more,
I don't
Peter.
believe
Tell me
that.
more.
We need
name
them
like that,
to
it can't
try
be good.
that on the tailgate, Peter.
What did D-Line say there?
Probably something dumb.
Nothing.
Okay.
Okay, Peter. I'm not reading that. Peter said, "Just give Allie a raise already." I agree.
I agree, too.
I agree, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ben just added in because he felt pressured.
Hey.
Anyway,
I'm bad with peer pressure. Don't hate.
Peter's also asking, is this show going to happen after every basketball game too? We need more Buffs coverage. We haven't talked about basketball yet. on that end, but we will be doing at least a good amount of shows.
I
Not
will
sure
say
if
too-
it's every show.
I will say too, Peter, I've got a lot of basketball stuff cooking up right now. I don't want to brag or anything. A rec basketball player in high school, so clearly, there's a lot of just knowledge right back here to expose. Expose is a bad word.
Don't expose yourself back there, Ben.
So, yeah, I don't know about live shows every time, but as soon as basketball season starts up, this coverage is definitely going to continue.
We'll be doing something.
You guys keep
We'll be doing
watching.
something.
We'll keep delivering.
Exactly.
Very true. But come hang out every Buffs football game. We will be doing a show, and we will be watching the game here at the bar pretty much every single time. And if not, we'll still be producing a show. But come hang out. Those are all the questions I have for you
We
guys.
made it.
An hour
Wow.
40 in.
We can keep
Do
going.
you guys have any questions?
DNVR Broncos style right here.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
If you got to make a Russian nesting doll out of only current CU Buffaloes, who would make your nesting doll, and what size would they be?
Okay.
Badal, is that what you said?
I don't talk about dolls very often, Allie. I talk about
so
balls a lot.
do I only get 5 since there's 5 there?
Because sports. Yeah, you get 5.
Okay.
Goodness.
Chef Noyer D, Jarek Broussard, Dimitri Stanley,
3
Nate
on offense.
Landman.
Yep.
Okay.
Nate.
Man, this last one is tough.
I know. Oh,
I'm just going to give it to him because I think he's a future NFL player, and that's Mustafa Johnson.
Good pick.
yeah.
I'd go Noyer, Broussard, Johnson, Landman, and I'm going to go Carson Wells, too. He has been a baller
Wow.
these first 2 games.
Carson Wells has been balling out. He should have 2 picks in 2 games. Oh, just off the fingertips this week.
I don't know why I asked this. I'm going to start here. Will Sherman deserves to be in there.
I would
Yeah.
put Karl
He's
Dorrel on
right
one.
there.
I
actually.
would, too. Put
I
Dorrell
would
on
too.
one.
I would put Darren Cheverino. I'd put Tyson Summers on one. We haven't talked about him nearly
Got a whole
enough
coach
either.
nesting doll in there.
Yes.
How many nesting
Little
dolls are allowed? Can we do
visors.
more than just 5? Like, I mean, hypothetically, we could make it as long
Like,
as
you
we
could get
want, right?
smaller than this guy on the right, right?
You could get bigger than this guy.
Yeah, it's true.
Do we have, Allie, do you know, does DNVR have like a nesting doll guy? Can we start doing this?
We got to have a woodworking guy.
We
He
do
can
have a woodworking person.
We have.
one of
yeah.
our members.
The nesting doll does
But
not
not
seem easy.
nesting doll.
I've made
no.
IKEA furniture before. I could take a swing at this.
I've made it, but it has mostly broken. That
All right.
stuff breaks easy.
Ben, as intern, your project for the week
Oh my
God.
god.
to make a nesting doll.
Okay. And do I have to present on the show next week?
Of course. Why else would we make you do this?
I don't know. Just to
Just so
shame me.
we could make fun of you?
Isn't that the point of having an intern to just give mindless work to?
Yeah, so we can embarrass you
This
on
is
here.
not mindless. The world's health is counting
yeah.
on this.
Yeah.
This is
The
what's
world
going to
needs
solve
this.
the world's
Have
health.
you seen what's
Okay.
going on? The
Yeah.
people need this.
All right, the people, I'm looking right at you. This time next week, after a win against Arizona State, I will present my own personal nesting doll of Colorado current players.
You're so happy
And
with
people in
this
the chat, people in the chat can drop some game grades on my nesting dolls.
I love it.
He said ASU to get out of it in case USC is
Oh,
the game. Look at
classic cop out.
Oh,
Pop out.
okay.
Pop out.
I'll back it up. After the I shouldn't do that with my hand when I'm speaking. It's bad. Sorry. I took a public speaking class, and I just had an epiphany. I'm not supposed to cross my legs, but I don't like how high my khaki is there, so I did the
No,
cross.
you can cross your legs
Those are
on
nice.
camera.
Yeah. I got
Whoever
Oh, are
the
they
Buffs
soft
beat
too?
next week, I will present the nesting dolls.
Shout out Tyler Ziskin. These were the shoes that he gave to the entire wedding party.
Wow.
And I don't know if you can see on the broadcast there, but they have gold eyelets.
Okay, we
Eyelets.
actually have another
Learn something
question
every
now
day.
that you guys continue to talk
All I wanted.
nonsense.
Oh, but can we
like-
finish this by saying, like, Katie Nixon,
Oh.
Brady Russell,
Oh.
James Stepanow
Brady
now
Russell's
gone?
back is in mine.
Who are you taking out, though? That's what I couldn't figure out.
I'll take out Mustafa.
But yeah.
4 offensive players, I know.
Yeah, okay, just so we know, though, I do have class and stuff, so I can't do like a 15
No.
person one, so.
Well, it better
If
be
we
good.
get, honestly,
Your job
if there's
depends
even
upon it.
one, you win.
Okay, Matt here is asking how underrated has Isaiah Lewis been for this defense?
Seriously.
I didn't feel like his name was called today.
Yeah. Not much at all.
That also
I
means
think
he
had
didn't
the
get
fumble
beat.
recovery
He
that
had-
was overruled. That was he took that he housed that one the forward pass when they didn't call it. But
Oh, right.
yeah, I mean I think we talked about him last week. He's a good role player. He's a leader on this team. He's not going to be your every down starter necessarily, but he can come in and play key downs.
And there was a third down in the first quarter where he was in coverage up the middle, probably 15 yards, and he knocked the ball away. And that was his first pass breakup of the game. I'm not sure how many he finished with. I don't remember any others. But he was the leader in the NCAA coming into this week with 3 pass breakups per game. Obviously, that means he had 3 in the one game. He had at least 1 today. I mean, he's been playing really well. Don't know if Chris Miller's coming back next week. I don't remember. Do we see Christian Gonzalez again? After he got hurt?
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
It was late in the game, wasn't it?
It
when he got hurt
was.
there?
So, yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of Isaiah Lewis. He's their number 1 nickel. They're going to be using him a lot. And I'm excited because he does look like he deserves that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Allie's gone. So.
No, I'm still
It's just
here.
dark.
Oh, there she is.
Disappeared into the
there
darkness.
the teeth.
DNVR after dark.
No one can see me. How about here? Oh,
Oh, there you
I didn't
are.
want to make myself so big, but
Wow, and you kept me.
nope. Oh,
Oh,
Again,
there's
you
Hank.
chose me.
I don't know.
This is awkward. Hank,
No.
get us out of here.
Oh, hey. Oh, there's little us. Wait, can everybody see?
Hey.
Oh, okay. Are we out of questions then?
Peter says you guys rock more gas in the tank than Jokic riding a horse.
I don't even know.
Damn right, though.
That is going to
I
be
agree.
Right.
That's going to be my Tinder bio.
Oh goodness gracious.
All right.
All right. Yep, I think that's going to do it for today. We'll be back next week doing this again. Supposed to be a late game. Hopefully you guys will stay up with us. Who knows if they're even going to be playing that game, Arizona State at home. But you can stay tuned to the DNVR Buffs podcast and stay tuned to thednvr.com. We'll have all the information that you guys could need. And if you aren't a member at thednvr.com, sign up. Use the code BUFFS. You get so many cool things on top of all the swag I mentioned earlier. And if you're watching on
Swag.
YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And
Ring that little bell at the top there
Ring the
so
little
you know
bell.
when we're going live.
And I think that was the last point I had to hit. So we are
Who's
out
that
of
offensive lineman?
here. His name is Kari Cooch, and you shouldn't laugh. He's a very good offensive lineman.
All right. That's good. We're good.
Hope you're laughing while he's playing a dozen years in the NFL.
I got your mic.
Really know just how to act. And when I'm in it go, you know I'm acting bad. Holly get a bus with my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag. My Colorado swag. I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag. My Colorado swag. Man, I swear I think they like my Colorado swag. My Colorado swag is pushing 180. Speed and pad competition. See you later, baby. Colorado Army with soldiers like the Navy. And boat is where we stationed, patiently awaiting. When I hit the field, it's so hard to behave. I'm Colorado swag and it's the crowd do the wave. Look into my eyes, I can tell that you afraid. Cause you know we finna hit ya. Hey, you on your own now, why you watching the official? You just better hope you make it to the next whistle. And we ain't playing with you can get it anytime. It started at the scrimmage, we gon' win it at the line. My Colorado swag in the middle of the ring. Throwing blows, knocking down team after team. They like my Colorado swag.